the words of Ecclesiastes, a season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time for dancing, a time for wailing, a time for birthing, a time for dying, a time for speaking, a time for silence, a time for seeking, a time for losing. Time of mourning is a complicated time filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. We begin our service with the recitation of psalms and prayers, thus linking Bess's life with the 3,000-year-old tradition of the people of Israel and the eternity of God. I invite you to join with me now the recitation of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. What a precious find is the nation Chayil, a woman of valor. Her worth is far beyond rubies, and her husband Philip put his confidence in her. Lacked no good thing. Bess was good to him all the days of her life. She opened her hand to the needy and extended it to the poor. She was clothed with strength and splendor. She looked to the future cheerfully and opens her mouth with wisdom. Her tongue is guided by kindness. She oversees the activities of her household and never eats the bread of idleness. Her children today come forward and bless her. Charm is deceitful, beauty is vain. But a God-revering woman is much to be praised. Extol her for the fruit of her hand. Wherever people gather, her deeds speak her praise. Share with you a modern meditation. After a while, you learn the subtle difference between holding a hand and chaining a soul. You learn that love doesn't mean leaning, and that company doesn't always mean security. And you learn that kisses aren't contracts and presents aren't promises. And you begin to accept your defeats with your head up and your eyes straight ahead, with the grace of a woman or a man, not the grief of a child. And you learn to build all your roads on today because tomorrow's ground is too uncertain for plans. And futures have a way of falling down in mid-flight. After a while, you learn that even sunshine burns if you bask too much. So you plant your own garden, decorate your own soul, instead of waiting for someone to bring you flowers. You learn that you really can endure, that you really are strong, that you really have worth. And you learn, and you learn. With every goodbye, you learn. But perhaps the most referenced rabbinical teachings in Jewish history is Pirkei Avot, known as the Ethics of Our Fathers. This invaluable collection of Jewish maxims and aphorisms have timeless relevance, even 2,000 years after they were composed. If I were being flip, I would say that the teachings of Pirkei Avot could be best known as Judaism's greatest hits. Today, I'd like to let some very simple words of Pirkei Avot guide us as we reflect on the incredible life's work of Bess Kwait. Ben Hehe said, according to the effort is the reward. This is true of Bess. Exerting effort in every aspect of her life, particularly with family. And the reward has been so great for her and so great for everyone who knew her. Growing up during the Depression, Bess knew that her family did not have a lot of wealth, but she noticed how much they shared, as evidenced when her aunt came to live with them in Kinsman. The daughter of Ukrainian immigrants, Louis and Esther, Bess was raised with her brother David, to whom she was devoted. May his memory be a blessing. She was born and raised in Cleveland, graduated from John Hay High School. She met Philip soon after high school and was devoted to him throughout their marriage. The family business, a restaurant and bar supply outfit, Restbar, called on Bess to use her skills as a bookkeeper. She was one of the few working moms of that time. Bess and Philip, like many of that generation, participated in the couples club with lifelong friends. And the 4 children, Dale, Shelley, Elliot, and Samuel, were raised with love and attention and everything they needed to have a happy childhood. The kids fondly remember the trips to Euclid Beach and the delicious Euclid Beach custard, Geauga Lake, Cedar Point, picnicking at Roadside Park. Bess loved the simple pleasures, hosting dinners, joining book clubs, following the Cleveland Indians, watching The Price is Right at Menora Park, and enjoying chocolate in just about any form. East Coast custard, Mitchell's, Pierre's ice cream, although she did really love a box of truffles from the Chocolate Emporium brought to her by Elliot. Bess's efforts were always spent supporting her family. She got great reward from exerting these efforts. When Shelley's husband Bill died, she was there for support and to care for the girls. Sarah mentioned how special it was to share lunch with her grandma during her break at Beechwood High School. Bess lived across the street. Ben remembers the trips to Jack's Deli, where he got his requisite French fries and chocolate milk. And it was Grandma Bess who took him to Gannon Gill when he was little. And it was Grandma Bess who made sure her grandchildren got to Hebrew school. Bess loved being Jewish and particularly enjoyed the contemporary service at Fairmount Temple during the High Holy Days. When I was speaking with Rabbi Nosenchuk, my colleague at Fairmount Temple, he remembered fondly visiting Bess at Menora Park and how kind she was, how she welcomed him into her room as if it was her own home. She was the carrier of Jewish connection, of the connection she wished to pass on to her grandchildren, Elizabeth, Joshua, Ben, Lisa, and Sarah. Lisa talked about just a few years ago coming to town and having Bess meet her kids. And she would later become, Bess would, a great-grandmother to Ellie, Michael, Daniel, and Cole. Elizabeth shared the following about Grandma Bess. 2020 took my Grandma Bess. May her memory be a blessing. What can I say about her? She went to school in Cleveland, Ohio. A uniform with a skirt was required for girls at her school. On the coldest days, she wore pants under her skirt, placed them in her locker for the school day, and put them on again for the trip home. She rode the streetcar to and from school. She was on the school basketball team. She married my grandfather, Philip, when she was 18 years old. He was 30. They had 4 children, and my dad was the 3rd. She was involved with running the family business, a restaurant supply company called Restbar, until it closed in the 1980s. She would sometimes come over to help babysit my brothers and me and got us to school while our parents slept because they were both working the night shift. We would watch our favorite kids shows together, like Sesame Street and Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. She took us to the movies, She taught us how to play solitaire and rummy. She taught us some Yiddish words too, and shared her Jewish faith with us. I slept over her house and I recall watching a Golden Girls marathon with her. She later moved from that house to a condo and acquired the green living room furniture of the previous resident, which seemed fitting as it was her favorite color. We spent a lot of time with her there eating lunch, sometimes swimming, and learning about her life and that of her brother Dave and her parents. She took me to see a doctor when my parents weren't able. She gave me a ginger ale and chicken soup after my wisdom teeth were pulled. She enjoyed watching the Cleveland Indians on television. She belonged to a book club and she was very close with her friends, especially Ruth. Grandma would take me to visit her mother, Esther, called Bobby, meaning grandma in Yiddish, although she was actually my dad's grandma and my great-grandma by many family members when she was living in a nursing home. While their grandma would take us to the cafeteria to get lunch, sometimes Grandma and Ruth would take my brothers and me to Wendy's restaurant, where us kids would get burgers, fries, and a Frosty, and she and Ruth would get baked potatoes and coffee. She gave me some of her jewelry, including a very special Star of David, with her name engraved on the back that her cousin bought for her in Israel while he was a soldier. She called me and my cousins Dolly. She would call to sing the happy birthday song to us when she couldn't be there. Grandma attended as many of our birthdays, band concerts, sporting events, graduations, weddings, and related celebrations as she could. For years, she would mail greeting cards for birthdays and holidays, always made sure to send them plenty of time so they wouldn't arrive late in the mail. When I was away at college, she knew I would be excited to get my own mail, so she became my pen pal, and we wrote to each other often. She offered beautiful words of encouragement. She spoke from the heart, as many of her cards were blank, with only her own words inside. She often wrote happy birthday with more than one happy. She signed her cards, your loving Grandma Bess. I will always treasure those cards which contain her lovely cursive handwriting. I'll miss your unconditional love, Grandma. I love you. When I was meeting with the family over Zoom yesterday, Shelley shared wisdom that I think we could all appreciate. It doesn't matter how old you get. Your mother is always still your mother. Indeed, truer words could not be said. Bess cornered the market on being a worrying mother, and that stayed for the duration of her life. She truly put so much effort into caring, loving, and supporting her family. She did it in understated ways, and now she inherits the world to come, what we call Olam Haba, in the peaceful knowledge that she leaves a legacy of love for those who survived her today. Zichrona Livracha, may Bess's memory be for an enduring blessing, and let us say, Amen. I'm going to invite everyone to pause for a moment, think about the gifts that Bess gave to the world and the piece of the puzzle that she brought to your life. I invite you now, as you are able, to rise for the chanting of El Malei Racham, the memorial prayer.
מלא רחמים, שוכן במרומים, עמסי מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה, במעלות קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת בתיה בת לוי יצחק ואסתר, שהלכה לעולמה, בגן עדן תהי מנוחתה. אנא בעל הרחמים, אסתיריה בסתר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה, אדוני ונחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר Amen. El Malay Rachamim, exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure, to the soul of Bess Kwait, who has gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. As we turn to the mourner's cottage, we'd like to acknowledge that Bess leaves an incredible legacy of her kids, Dale, wife Sally, Shelley, Elliot and wife Sandy, Samuel, and loving grandmother of Elizabeth and James, Joshua, Benjamin and Mandy, Lisa and Yossi, Sarah and Kyle, and the great-grandmother of Ellie, Michael, Daniel, and Cole. Continue now with the mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal, Yitgadash, Shemei Rabbah. Ve'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei. V'chayei chom, v'yomei chom, chayei d'kol Beit Yisrael. Ba'galau b'zman kariv v'imru. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbahar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei Kedusha. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, ushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya, chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Oseh shalom b'mromav, huya aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, comfort to all of us who are bereaved. We say together, Amen. At this time, it is customary to fill the earth with some soil. For those who are uninitiated with Jewish tradition, it might seem like antithetical to how we would pay tribute to our loved one, but it's actually the opposite in Judaism. Because Bess cannot care for her own body right now and take care of herself, we care for that body. And even though her spirit has separated from her body, the body is considered a very precious and sacred vessel. And so we help with this process, starting the process of burying her, everything that she gave to us, how she protected us and contributed to our lives. Now is the time to give that back. We don't need to fill the complete grave today. Some shovelfuls are fine, and the good folks here at the cemetery can do the rest. But it's our way of starting that process. So we invite immediate family members and their spouses, children and grandchildren and spouses, and then extended family to begin this process. health and safety's sake, we don't have a shovel, but just use your hands. If there's anybody else who would like to join in this custom, you can do so. Want to take this time to acknowledge those who are joining us on this virtual call today. Shelley, we know you wanted to be here, and we know that it was the right decision to stay put where you are, and we wish you good health for sure. And we know that extended family couldn't be there here as well, including Lisa and Sarah. And so, well, we're sending lots of love to you. We know you're tuning in, and we know you're here in spirit. We feel your presence. And God willing, we talked about this, we will be able to join back together for a stone setting here at some point. Post-pandemic, we'll be able to share together some time united as a family, which I know it's been a while. So may Bess's memory forever be a blessing. And we say together, amen. Amen.
This will conclude the services here at the gravesite, folks. When you find you're ready to return to your vehicles, you may do so at any time.